Hello, I'm Noah M. Horwitz, member of the Texpatriate editorial board.
Hi, I'm Sophia Arena, and I'm Noah M. Horowitz's assistant.
I'm George Bailey, also a member of the editorial board.
And we are trying out a new feature. This is going to be a roundtable discussion talking about some of the key Flashpoint issues in the past week when it came to Texas and Houston politics. So first and foremost, of course, the 83rd Legislature's second special session came to a close without a conclusion on transportation funding, and the governor called a third special session originally only to deal with transportation funding. Now, there have been plenty of people on both sides of the aisle who are trying to push for additional legislation on the call of the session. Both Democrats and Republicans have been pushing for campus construction, predominantly for the University of Texas in the form of tuition revenue bonds. But Republicans have been pushing as well for a lot of more conservative ideas, like the infamous guns on campus measure, as well as school vouchers and Arizona-style immigration laws. So the biggest question is, should the campus construction push go forward, even if it means possibly threatening conservative legislation on the call of the session? So what do y'all think?
Well, I think that one bad apple will poison the whole bunch. So if there's one part of the legislature that isn't good, that it shouldn't be included in the whole thing, because then the whole thing will fall through.
I think the legislature should do the will of the people, but in doing so, they shouldn't railroad tradition, and they should preserve the two-thirds rule.
So what you're saying is that you think that more issues should be added if that's what the governor wants and that's what the majority of the senators want. So even if they're things like Dan Patrick's bill, but you also think that the two-thirds rule shouldn't be compromised in doing so.
Right.
Okay.
And basically, no special considerations should be made, and the two-thirds rule should be preserved in the special session.
So in a lot of ways, I guess it would be like a regular session where members would be free to introduce just about anything they want, and only the things that have broad consensus from both parties are able to come to the floor.
Right.
Okay. Exactly. So generally, I agree with Sophia. I think that it's not worth it. It's I posted a link on Twitter to that infamous Star Wars clip where the little monster yells, "It's a trap." And I think that that's the best metaphor for what we have now with the legislature. Because what's really happened is that it is a trap in that campus construction, which is something that everybody can agree upon, can go forward, and Perry can say, well, you know, I've already expanded the call for this, so I might as well expand it for something else. And that way, school vouchers or guns on campus ends up on the call of the special session, and that really isn't good for anybody. Y'all have anything else for that? Okay, so the next issue really is about Houston mayoral elections and the debates therein. Mayor Parker has previously said that she wasn't really especially interested in debates, but Ben Hall this past week said, well, I want 6 debates, one-on-one, just mano-a-mano. And Parker responded that, well, maybe we'll do 1 debate, but it has to include all of the candidates. And so generally, I think it should be somewhere in the middle. What do y'all think?
I think there should probably be 2 debates, one with all of the candidates, and one-on-one with Ben Hall, because he is such a prominent candidate. And I think that a lot could come forth from having an individual debate with him. And Denise Parker.
So, but why don't you think that there should be more than 2?
Well, I just don't think that there's enough content to really validate having more debates than that.
Okay. Well, you know, generally I think that there should be 3 debates, one in August, one in September, and one in October. And I do actually agree with you that I think at least one of them should include all the candidates, but at least one of them, possibly both of the other ones, should just be between Parker and Hall. Because as much as I do think that there are some people would call them fringe candidates, you know, Don Cook representing the Green Party, or Carol Douglas representing another branch of the Democratic Party, Eric Dick, of course, for the Republicans. A lot of these candidates, I guess, wouldn't be receiving a lot of publicity, and there's certainly candidates that a lot of constituents who may find their views unrepresented by the major candidates would look at these people and go, oh, I guess I'll vote for them, but they don't get a lot of exposure. So I definitely think that one of those debates would be good. But then in the same breath, I think that a Parker Hall debate, or even two of them, would also be a good thing for the purpose of efficiency. Because, in the presidential election, it's just the main two candidates that have a debate. In last year's Senate election, it was the same way. And I think when you have, 5 or 6 people up on the stage, it just gets confusing. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think there should be 3, but I don't think that Ben Hall should have as many one-on-one debates. I just don't see him as a particularly special enough candidate that he should warrant 2. I think that the 3 would be beneficial, or as all candidates, and maybe just one final one with Hall or whoever is the lead at that time.
Okay. So the last issue really is pertaining to Sheila Jackson Lee. Of course, early this week, the Congressional Black Caucus announced that they had openly discussed and recommended to the president that he nominate her as the new Secretary of Homeland Security. The previous one, Secretary Janet Napolitano, is of course resigning at the end of this month to become the leader of the University of California system. So there's going to be an opening. And it's really interesting because Sheila Jackson Lee has been controversial, to say the least. And President Obama has really been shying away from these controversial cabinet picks. It would be an interesting decision if he would actually go through with something like that. What do y'all think?
Well, personally, I wouldn't select her, but it is fully within his right to do so, and I don't think I'm anywhere, to say whether or not he should. So that's my opinion.
So you think that the Senate should basically be able to say, the president gets to pick his team, and as long as a bare majority of senators may approve of that decision, which would be, I guess, exceedingly likely since the Democrats, of course, control the Senate, there shouldn't be a lot of extended debate upon it. Shouldn't be the threat of a filibuster.
Right. I mean, really, at this point, it's his decision.
Okay. What do you think?
I don't think that she's done enough to warrant being the nomination for Secretary of Homeland Security, and that they potentially disagree on certain political issues, so maybe that partnership wouldn't be the best.
Now, I definitely agree with you on the foreign policy disagreement. No, but I do have to say that I don't quite agree when it came to the comment that you made about her not doing a lot, because I'm curious what you consider whether or not she did a lot, because she's certainly been able to lead the charge on a number of key issues. Sheila Jackson Lee has been in office since 1995. I'd have to count it out by hand, but I think she's been in somewhere like 8 or 9 congressional sessions, but of those, only 2 have been with Democratic majorities. She has been in the minority for the vast time of her congressional career, and so she's never really had the chance to pass all that many bills. I mean, is that what you're saying, that because she hasn't passed these bills?
I guess so. There just wasn't enough that I saw her as a great candidate, but that doesn't mean that she hasn't done a lot for the community.
I agree in some ways, because it is, I guess, somewhat her fault, I guess, if she hasn't passed all that many bills, because it means that she isn't especially bipartisan. Certainly, there's nothing wrong with not being bipartisan and serving in a president's cabinet. Our previous president, if anything, taught us that. But I guess that there is a point to be made that you want somebody who will work across the aisle, especially in a post as sensitive as Homeland Security Secretary. Personally, I agree with you that I wouldn't necessarily choose her. There have been a lot of things that Sheila Jackson Lee has done well for this community, but she has a few downfalls. And one of them is that she speaks off the cuff, and she can't help it. That's just one of the things she does. And it's not quite the best thing for a cabinet secretary to do, because a cabinet secretary, I think, theoretically should just kind of stand back in the shadows and let the president take the lead and silently institute his agenda, in the executive branch of the government. And the other thing is that what I was talking about when I was saying Sheila Jackson Lee has really fought the good fight, she was the only member of the Texas congressional delegation to vote against the Defense of Marriage Act. And of course, that doesn't have to do with Homeland Security, but she also voted against the Patriot Act. She voted against FISA acts, all of these horrible, unpatriotic, civil liberty crushing bills she's been opposing. And I certainly admire her because of that. But there's an irony in the fact that President Obama probably doesn't, because President Obama has been supportive of the Patriot Act, supportive of these wiretaps, and so I'm guessing he would probably want somebody who would agree with him on that matter. As you said in the Week in Review, Sheila Jackson Lee hasn't commented about this yet. President Obama hasn't commented about this yet. So I guess it's all somewhat premature. Y'all have anything else? Okay, well that is Texpatriate's first roundtable for the week's issues. If we get good feedback on this, we might do it again, I suppose. Thank you.